Storm outside hadn't started yet, but something inside him had already begun to break. On a quiet Tuesday afternoon, in a city where people walked fast and felt slow, Michael Graves, who had survived heartbreak, debt, and the suffocating weight of single fatherhood, found himself staring at a photograph he was never meant to see. A picture that didn't belong to him, glowing on the screen of a laptop he had just repaired. A picture of a woman whose eyes carried a loneliness so familiar it struck him like lightning. And in the next heartbeat, she stepped into the room and asked, with a fragile softness hidden beneath her confident reputation, if she looked pretty. If you believe that kindness still matters, that second chances can save a life, and that stories like these deserve to be heard, please like the video, comment where you're watching from, share this story, and subscribe to the channel. Michael wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Once, not long ago, he had been a promising IT engineer in a well-known company, earning enough to build the life he wanted with his wife and their baby girl. But life had its own cruel timing, and when his wife passed away unexpectedly, everything crumbled. He left his job because he couldn't handle the hours, the silence, or the reminders. He took up small repair work, low-pay home services, anything that allowed him to stay close to his daughter, Emma. Every morning, he woke up early, packed her small lunch, braided her hair with hands that trembled from exhaustion, kissed her forehead, and prayed he could afford another week of school fees. He never told her how much he struggled, swallowing his fears like bitter medicine. To her, he was just Dad, the man who always smiled, even when his eyes said otherwise. On the other side of the city lived a woman who, despite having everything, felt like she had nothing. Olivia Hartley, the powerful CEO of Hartley Innovations, was known for her elegance, precision, and the cold armor she wore in public. People whispered that she was born for success, but few knew she had built her empire on foundations of loneliness. She had grown up in a wealthy family that valued reputation more than affection, accomplishments more than emotions. She reached the top, but the higher she climbed, the emptier her world became. She worked late nights in a silent penthouse, ate dinners alone, and stared at pictures she never shared with anyone, pictures where she didn't look like a CEO, but a woman aching for connection. Their worlds collided when her computer crashed during a critical project. Her assistant, desperate, called the only local technician available at that hour, Michael. He almost said no because he had to pick up Emma from school, but something told him to accept the job. Perhaps fate was tired of watching two broken souls walking separately. When he arrived at Olivia's office, he felt out of place, standing among marble floors and tall windows with his old toolkit held together by tape. But he worked quietly, professionally, trying not to notice the stacks of documents, photographs, and personal things scattered around, revealing more about her than she intended. When he finally fixed the system, her laptop opened automatically, displaying a picture of her standing under autumn leaves in a park, smiling, not the CEO smile she wore like armor, but a real, soft, vulnerable smile. Her eyes looked both hopeful and unsure, like a woman waiting for someone who never arrived. When Olivia walked back into the room and caught him looking, he froze, terrified she would accuse him or fire him or worse. But instead, she took a slow breath, and with a voice that trembled just slightly under her practiced calm, she asked if she looked pretty. It wasn't vanity. It was fear. Fear of being unseen. Fear of being unworthy. Fear of never being enough. Michael didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to moments like these. He wasn't used to feeling something stir inside him, something he thought had died with his wife. He wasn't used to someone looking at him not with pity, but with a strange, raw honesty. He wished he could tell her that she looked more than pretty, that her picture radiated warmth he hadn't felt in years. But his voice cracked under the weight of his own emptiness. Olivia noticed the calluses on his hands, the tiredness in his face, the faded marks of struggle that told an entire story he had never spoken aloud. Something inside her softened. She asked about the little hairband tied to his wrist, and he told her, quietly, shyly, that it belonged to his daughter and she insisted he wear it so he wouldn't miss her pickup time. For the first time in a long while, Olivia smiled, not as a CEO, but as a woman who understood the depth of sacrifice. Days passed, and a strange ripple began to form in both of their lives. Olivia found excuses to need small IT tasks done, not because she actually needed them, but because the silence of her penthouse felt less sharp when she remembered his gentle presence. Michael found himself walking to her office with an inexplicable sense of calm, as if being near her allowed him to breathe for the first time in years. He told her stories about Emma, about how she drew sunflowers for her mom in heaven, about how she hugged him every night and told him he was the best dad in the world. Olivia listened like his words were precious pearls, each one filling a crack in her own heart. One evening, during a power outage in her office building, they found themselves standing near the window, looking at the dark city below. Olivia confessed, in a voice barely more than a whisper, that she often felt invisible despite everyone knowing her name. Michael admitted that he lived every day terrified of failing his daughter. Two people with different worlds, discovering the same ache inside them, but life tests people right when they begin to heal. Olivia's board was merciless. They saw her growing closeness to a simple technician as a weakness. Rumors spread. Some mocked her. Some questioned her decisions. She retreated, terrified of losing everything she built. Michael, hearing whispers from others, felt like he had stepped somewhere he didn't belong. He pulled back, distancing himself for fear of being the reason she suffered. Olivia felt the distance like a cold knife. Michael felt it like a hollow echo. One evening, after a long day of judgments, Olivia returned to her office and saw Emma's sunflower drawing pinned to the wall, left behind accidentally during one of Michael's visits. Something inside her cracked open. She realized she had spent her entire life avoiding love because she was afraid of losing it. But she had been losing herself every single day anyway. She didn't want to lose this newfound warmth, not the man who spoke gently even when life treated him harshly, not the little girl who painted hope in bright yellow strokes. She found Michael sitting on a bench outside his small rented apartment, Emma asleep on his shoulder, a half-torn repair invoice in his hand. He looked defeated, as if the world had reminded him again that he didn't belong anywhere. Olivia sat beside him, her voice trembling as she told him that she didn't care what the world thought. She only cared about what felt honest, about the man who fixed more than her computer, the man who unknowingly fixed pieces of her heart she thought were beyond repair. He didn't know how to respond. But Emma, half asleep, reached out her small hand and placed it on Olivia's arm, smiling softly. Sometimes children understand things adults complicate. From that night, everything changed slowly, quietly, beautifully. Olivia helped Michael in ways that preserved his dignity, offering opportunities instead of charity. Michael brought warmth into Olivia's lonely palace, filling it with laughter, crayons, and little shoes scattered near the door. They learned to heal without rushing, to trust without fear, to love without conditions, and yet, the memory of that first moment, the photograph, the question, the trembling vulnerability, remained the turning point of everything that followed. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow and inspires more stories like this.